And it depends on the stage you are. If you're an initial eval, if you're just at the start of this, then that takes a different kind of advocacy than someone who's had 4 years on an IEP. So you've kind of gone through things, but each stage of growing comes with, a new piece of information that it becomes more important.
Right. And you use that one part in the beginning that I kind of want to get into is signing power. So many people don't understand what that word means.
Right. So you have signing power in that once the IEP is drafted, or is given, the proposed IEP is sent to you for your permission to sign. It's important that you look over the IEP and it says what the team meeting said it would say. It provides the services that you decided as a team. Then you have there's a couple of pages that will be sent that'll have highlighted and sticky note tabs on the side, sign here and return within 30 days. Really take that time and read through and make sure if they said they were going to provide occupational therapy services in a pullout, then that should be on a certain part of the grid. And accidentally, maybe they put it on a different part of the grid. Some advocates or some parents will immediately say, I reject this IEP because there's an error. And you have that power to do it. I would say, cautious of using that power. To continue to have a relationship with the team. If I saw an error on an IEP, I would call the team leader who are, in charge of the meeting and say, there was this error on it. Did I misunderstand? Was this really what we decided at the team? Or was it human error and it was put in the wrong spot? And can we get in touch with OT and see if maybe it was, and then have it fixed and then send me a new proposal? That's always better than just rejecting. Or even partial rejecting, because it saves your relationship. These are relationships that you'll have. If your child has early intervention, then they're in this relationship and still has needs after, at age 22, you're looking at a 19-year relationship. So it's always better to go in with an honest one and not an adversarial one, which I think sometimes we do have signing power, but we can't let that power go to our head because we're still a part of a team. And so it's still good to really reach out and talk to the district.
Now, what should I know?
But having said that, the school can't start services until they receive a signed IEP, either partially signed saying, I accept everything except the OT services. If you come and they say, no, I think we were right, I think you misunderstood, and you still feel pretty good about your, what you want. Signing that IEP is still really important so that your child gets the services.
Right. And that is the biggest thing. The quicker they get the IEP done, the quicker your child gets services, which is why so many schools and teachers now use what you referred to earlier, the proposed IEP. They kind of use a generalized form and they input things they know about your child. And it's kind of an outline. It does not have to be the IEP, but in many cases...
Well, the proposed IEP does have to be the IEP. The proposed IEP is the IEP that they send to you for signature. A draft IEP, which may say draft on it, would be given to you at the meeting. Some schools do it and some schools don't. Some states want it, some states don't. So that's why just the whole world of special education is so different border to border. But the proposed IEP is the one the proposed IEP is the one that the school district signs in Massachusetts. And so that's the one the school district is saying, this is the IEP. A draft IEP isn't signed by anyone. It's just a draft. It's sort of a helpful format to guide the meeting. And so that you can see concretely. I like to have a draft IEP. I like to know what they're saying and where they're saying it on the IEP.
And you learn more about your child seeing the draft. You're seeing where the teacher thinks they are. And you're like, well, I don't see that at home. So he is further than I thought.
Right. Because an IEP is also there to celebrate the yays, and to really, and how can we use that? Wow, he's good here. Why is he improving here? What is the teaching strategy you're using? Oh, you use visuals. Oh, they're not doing that in this science course or in social studies. They're not using as many visuals. Well, if they're using it in science and it's working, but they're not using it in social studies, how can we share our resources?
Right. Now I'm just going to jump to the comments section real quick because I've noticed we had a couple. Jamie says, what about utilizing the state's parent training and information center? They help teach self-advocacy skills and such, and often for free, which helps many families who are tight on money.
Absolutely. So in Massachusetts, and I know Dennis mentioned this, we have the Federation for Children with Special Needs, but the U.S. Department of Ed and the Office of Special Education, through the IDEA, which is the Individual with Disabilities Act, had mandated that each state has to have a federally funded PTI or parent training information resource center. In Massachusetts, it's Federation for Children with Special Needs. There's a great resource that I think we can post. I'm not sure if you posted it last week. So you can just go to Georgia and find out where your training center is. For the Federation in Massachusetts, we have a call center. I work the one in Western Mass. Now I'm doing it from my house. I was going to say my bedroom because I am answering calls or taking calls and helping parents. And that's a free resource. And parents can call as many times as they need. We can help link them to an advocate. We try our hardest to link them to a pro bono or to get, maybe a sliding scale. Those resources, what I'm finding now is parents sort of, especially in the middle of it, although my son has Asperger's, and I didn't find out about these resources until last March. And I'm a special ed teacher for 22 years, so I don't know what that says about me. But it just wasn't something that, in my world, people knew about. But now the Federation can guide you towards the Department of Disability Services, which provides so many resources for autism, families with autism. And within that, providing the resources for family with autism, they will guide you towards a family resource center like an ARC, and they can provide monies for an advocate, but they also provide respite. They provide so many services that, you just don't know what you don't know. Right. And right now with coronavirus, there's so many helpful things being thrown at us that it's just too much, and it's all becoming white noise. And so I think for people to go to their state parent training centers and start there, because so many helpful Facebook pages and websites, but start with the people who have the regulations and frankly are in on the meetings. I was in on a Zoom meeting with the Department of Ed and then another one with lawyers. And so we're really kept up to date on that. And then you can call us and we can tell you, you know what? Some of the calls we get are hard. In everyone's life is getting harder these days. But parents just want to know that they're doing the best that they can and they're doing everything they should be doing. So even as we answer these calls and we don't necessarily have the answers for them, we can't say yes exactly, because the regulations are changing every day right now with this corona process. It's very helpful for parents to say, okay, at least I know I'm doing everything I can. And that sort of lets people breathe, I think.
Right.
But those centers are absolutely worth the money, and they're free.
Now, Melinda says, I agree. Take your time and read the IEP before signing. I learned the hard way and had to schedule another IEP to amend it. I have done that. That is a headache. That is not worth doing.
Right. But you can do that. Parents become intimidated. I got this. I have to sign 2 copies, then I have to send it back, and I only have 30 days. You know what? Nothing is on fire. Take a breath, read through the pages. It's not information you're used to reading. And that's, I think, it becomes important when looking for an advocate, that you have someone who knows what they're looking at and can walk you through, this is important, this is kind of important, but this is really the page we want to focus on.
And Jamie brings that up more further when she says you can ask for a draft prior to the meeting. That way you can see what is being discussed before the meeting. At least that's how it
you
is.
You can ask for anything. They don't have to necessarily give you what you've asked for. So again, it's that border. It depends on what district you're in, even within the same state.
So now we have a mom whose child recently got diagnosed at 3 years old, and she's wondering how does an IEP work? They're going into pre-K, so they are new to everything.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that. So how does an IEP work? So your child has the diagnosis from a doctor, and then you would contact the school and share that information and request further assessment, or would that 3-year-old request to meet and go over the assessments that you have? And within that, from that will either be, yes, you have qualified for special education, this disability is impacting your learning, or a 504 plan, which, I mean, we're going to get muddy if we start talking about those two, but those would be the two conversations that you would have. But absolutely, even right now, I know in Massachusetts, timelines are still in, IEPs are still being, called. So we're still having IEP meetings through Zoom, and schools still have to provide FAPE. So for the 3-year-old, I would get in touch with the school principal, the special ed director.
She was evaluated from a doctor, and they were contacted by the school district.
Okay.
A 504 plan, pretty much I was always told there's two distinctions. An IEP is for a diagnosis, and then 504 is for not necessarily such a strict diagnosis.
Well, you can have autism. You can have a diagnosis on both. Neither one is prescriptive. Neither one tells you have a diagnosis. It's just, how is your disability impacting your education? And one carries more regulation weight than the other, but they both carry regulation weight. If a 504 isn't followed, there's an avenue to go about making sure. But that neither one are just diagnosis or descriptive of that. So I think because it's 3 years old, want to make sure that you're going in and being honest and saying that, you know what, this is the beginning of our beautiful relationship I'm going to have with this school district. And you're going to have it with the district, because special ed directors can come and go. Yep. Special ed teachers, you're going to go from school to school and principal to principal, but if you stay in the school, you're going to stay in that district. And so to start the relationship with honesty and say, this is, what can we do? How can I help? I think that sort of glides into how to prepare for an IEP meeting. Does that make sense, Jen?
Yeah.
So Dennis talked last week about how we've created binders for each of our students. And we got that through understood.org.